Good morning. Ooh. Welcome to the Unitarian Universalist Society. We are grateful to gather on this beautiful, icy morning, both in person and online, for a time of inspiration, reflection, and connection. We are glad that you are here. If you're newer to our community, we invite you to learn more about Unitarian Universalism in this congregation after the service. Ooh. For those here in person, you can talk to a greeter in the atrium. For those online, there is a link to a visitor form in YouTube notes that will let us connect with you. If you need to use an app or device to help you engage with this worship service, feel free to connect to the UUS Wi-Fi. We ask everyone else to make sure you're not connected to the Wi-Fi during the service. I'm Emily Johnson, a member of the congregation and a worship associate. My pronouns are she, her. As Unitarian Universalists, we covenant together to affirm and promote 7 principles which we hold as strong values and moral guides. This congregation has endorsed the adoption of an 8th principle, which calls us to be committed to active anti-racism and other forms of oppression. Love is the core value of our covenantal faith. As people of many ages, genders, races, sexual orientations, classes, abilities, and health statuses, we gather together as a radically welcoming spiritual community. During our services, we draw inspiration and meaning from thoughtful people of the past and present, and use sources as diverse as poetry, nature, science, and personal experience. This morning, as we contemplate inclusive community through the lens of direct experience, we will explore the journey towards spiritual wholeness by working to build a diverse community. Before we begin our service, we pause to remember that each of us is sustained by the land where we make our homes and our livelihoods, land that was once dominated by tall grass prairie. We remember that for centuries before colonization, Native people lived in interdependence with this land that we call home. We give thanks particularly to the Kickapoo, the Iowa, the Sauk, and the Meskwaki, and the Oceti-Sakowon nations for their continued stewardship as we seek to live in reciprocity with this land. Our call to worship today is Your Body is Welcome Here by Sean Neil Barron. Your body is welcome here, all of it. Yes, even that part, and yes, even that part. The parts you love and the parts you don't. For in this place we come with all that we are, all that we have been, and all that we are going to be. Our bodies are constantly changing. Cells die and cells are reborn. We respond to infections and disease. Sometimes we can divorce them from our bodies, and other times they become permanently a part of us. Your body and all that is within it, both wanted and not wanted, has a place here. Our bodies join in a web of co-creation, created and creating, constantly changing us, scarred and tattooed, tense and relaxed, diseased and cured, unfamiliar and intimate, formed in infinite diversity of creation. Your body is welcome here, all of it. So take a moment and welcome it. Take a moment to feel in it. Take a moment to be in it.
Music director here. I'm a, tall guy wearing a beige sweater and blue pants, sitting at the piano today because Xinhui is away, and I'm excited to sing with all of you. If you grabbed a gray hymnal on your way in, we're singing number 128, or if you want to read off the screens, it'll be on the screens. So I'll invite you to stand and rise in body and spirit, and we'll sing together for all that is our life, all that is our life. For all that is our life, we sing our thanks and praise. For all that is a gift, poetry are called to use to build the common good and make our own days glad. For for needs which others serve, for services we give, for work and its rewards, for hours of rest and love, we come with thanks and praise. For all that is our life, for sorrow we must bear, for failures, pain, and loss, for each new thing we learn, for fearful hours that pass, so we come with thanks and praise. For all that is our life, for all that is our life, we sing our thanks and praise. For all that is a gift, and we are called to use to build the common good and make our own days glad. Thank you.
As Unitarian Universalists, we light a flame within a chalice as a symbol of sanctuary and safety, to unite us in our worship and to remind us of our ongoing search for the light of truth. Our chalice lighter this morning is Ray. Good job. Thank you. Life is a gift for which we are grateful. We gather in community to celebrate the wonder and mystery of this great gift. So let us now kindle the flame of our liberal religious heritage and renew our covenant of mutual love and care. Love is our doctrine, the quest for truth is our sacrament, and service is our prayer. To dwell together in peace, to seek knowledge and freedom, and to serve those in need. This we promise, this we covenant with life and one another. Each week, we light a candle for justice and healing to acknowledge our interdependence with the natural world and with all members of the global community, especially the most vulnerable. We light this candle so that we may not be numbed to injustice and trauma, but rather find strength, courage, and love as we work in solidarity with others for liberation, justice, and healing. Together, we create resilience and hope. Today, as we light this candle, we're particularly mindful of the additional mobility challenges of living in Iowa in January and of how everyone needs to navigate the world safely. As I light this candle, let's hold a time of silence to listen to our hearts and bodies, or perhaps to lift up prayers.
Good morning. I am Peggy Garrigus, Director of Congregational and Community Engagement. My pronouns are she and her. For the month of January, our community partner who receives our Sunday cash offerings is the South District Neighborhood Association. We are pleased to have Angie Jordan, their Executive Director, here to speak with us this morning. Angie Jordan was one of the co-founders of the South District Neighborhood Association in 2018, and her tireless and engaging work as an advocate for that neighborhood, along with other amazing work in Iowa City, has led her to be named the Press Citizen Person of the Year for 2022. We are honored to have her with us this morning, and I invite Angie to come forward and share with us a bit about the South District Neighborhood Association.
Good morning, everybody. My name's Angie Jordan. My pronouns are she, her, and it's going to take me a minute to get this off my big old earrings. Some that I bought from Juanita, one of our diversity market vendors. I'll talk a little bit more about that, but in this moment, I just want to pause and give gratitude. In these moments where we get this recognition, where we come together, these are the times that I, as an individual, feel seen. When I feel seen, I feel like I can speak, and I believe I will be heard. So thank you today for being able to show me that I'm seen, to help me be brave and be heard, and to let me brag about our South District Neighborhood Association. I start with so much pride that gushes out of me because I stand on shoulders. As you all know, none of this work is done alone. All of this work was paved way before I was a twinkle in my parents' eye. All of it will be continuing when I'm ashes in the ground. And so the Neighborhood Association is a big deal to me because it gives so many permission to come together. Our Neighborhood Association was founded in 2018, but a lot of work was happening well before I came along, with 4 different neighborhood associations in the area. South Point, and I give a lot of props to those that we stand on, Fairmeadow, Grantwood, and Weatherby. Those 4 entities came together because what they realized is they shared a lot of common goals and hope. They also shared a lot of the same challenges in the southeast side of town. They recognized that they couldn't do a lot of these things separate, and that together they could be more sustainable. When they came together, they did things like creating the splash pads that are at Weatherby and Fairmeadow Park. They created different neighborhood watches. They infused the neighborhood with parties in the park and advocacy work with the city and the county and other nonprofits that are in our area. What the South District Neighborhood Association was able to do was to take that legacy and build on it. And so things that we've done, they're not new. They're actually old and precious. They are maintaining and creating traditions. Our side of town is so diverse and so transitory, but it has an identity. So it was helping to create a brand for that identity. What are our colors? What is our logo? And how is that going to represent everybody and their mom all the time? That's a big feat in itself. So the branding, the other things that we've been able to do are events and initiatives. So our side of town has 3 different elementary schools, one that's private, Faith Academy. We also have 2 through the Iowa City School District, the Grantwood and Alexander, and then we have another one across the highway, Twain. And there are different times in our city's history, as you all may very well be familiar, where our side of town has very high, low, free and reduced lunch rates. We also have very high percentage of low literacy rates. So something our neighborhood association did that took bringing those schools' PTOs, the staff, the leadership, the teachers, the parents, the families that also maybe don't have children but are affected by high literacy rates and happy children, bringing them together around creating over 25 little free libraries that had different programming that's connected, again, not just to our people, but to outside organizations, downtown, east side, so many things to get people excited about increasing access to books, increasing access to literature. That is something our neighborhood spearheaded and continues to do today. Other things we're really proud of continuing to do are our neighborhood meetings, where we come together and we check in. There's a lot of giggling. Most people bring their knitting. There's always food. And we invite folks that want to know more about our side of town, that make decisions, like our elected officials, or again, a lot of nonprofit leadership that's wanting to offer programming. We invite them to come to us. I feel like oftentimes there's a burden placed on those most negatively impacted by the things. In our neighborhood association, what we do and hold ourselves accountable to do is create spaces to bring in hope, to bring in resources that help build our confidence that we are worthy. We are valuable. We are not a weak link. We are actually strong. All the answers to the issues or problems or challenges, we actually hold the solutions. And we need help. So I talk about those things because in those moments of our neighborhood meetings, in our coming together around literacy, we're able to dream bigger. Why don't we have a Friday night music series? Couldn't we have more restaurants and entertainment? And once you start feeling seen and heard, you see that others are going to be doing that around you. All these ideas, all this passion bubbles up. That's where the force happens, right? That's where you see the byproduct. That's why I was able to be considered Person of the Year, was what we were able to create together because we felt mighty. The diversity markets were something that our neighborhood association not only spearheaded, but it was part of a piece to something that we wanted, the South District Self-Supported Municipal Improvement District. If you're familiar with the downtown district and all the amazing improvements over the past 10 years, that's because they have an entity to do that. Our neighborhood wanted a thriving business district. It wanted to celebrate and have entertainment and have fun things for our kids to do, but we have low capacity. We are all, just like many of you, are very busy folks. We also are folks who don't have a ton of resources separately. So the diversity market was the first time, in my opinion, that I've seen, and I am an Iowa City native, one of those folks born at Mercy Hospital back in 1986 on Super Bowl Sunday. We were able to not only dream, but bring our stuff into action. And we were able to say, if we had a thriving business district, look how we can incubate people of color. Women, entrepreneurs, look how we can create spaces for kids to get their face painted, play on the bouncy house, invite folks like James Tutson and Kevin Burt to play music for us, and Saul. Look what we can do, and we're not just gonna do it once. We want this for always and ever. And in my opinion, something I strive hard with my partner, my husband Jason, to teach our children is if that's something you want, you first must be the example. You first must help put your heart, soul, blood, sweat, and tears if you're going to ask anybody else to bring anything as well. So the diversity market is a front-facing piece that our neighborhood said we want, and not only did we achieve it, but we got more folks outside of our neighborhood interested and excited. And I'll tell you, I don't speak for everybody on our side of town, but I will say that in my years, over 15 years doing this work, the power that you feel when others look from the outside say, whoa, you know you're legitimate. You're like, I'm not crazy. I'm not alone. I'm here in my power, and I can do these things. So when we have folks from outside of our neighborhood, outside of our community, not just patting us on the back, but investing in us, that pulls the fire out. And I want for all the residents in the South District to know they're valuable, important, and seen. Because I'm hopeful that when they feel that, they will also be able to speak up and speak out into a community, Iowa City, I adore this place, into a community that listens, that's truthfully wanting to heal, repair, and empower. And so the market is fun, it's bright, it's reflective, it's growing each year. The first year we had 30 vendors, the second year we had 60. The first year we were crammed into this little church parking lot. The next year we had all of Pepperwood Plaza. The first year we had some dancers. The next year we had several paid acts. We were able to raise enough money to ask people, we don't want you to do this for free, we want to invest in you too. And what that has spurred is kind of this renaissance of arts and entertainment coming from our neighborhood, where we've got folks in our neighborhood working to produce concert series, festivals, and incubation spaces that prioritize our South District, but that prep those young people, those aspiring artists, to go out into the world and be brave. So I don't want to go over my time here, but I want to make sure I share with you a voice of hope, but also a voice of power. Being seen allows us to feel powerful, and watch us, and come be with us. Come to our markets. They start, we just set the dates for July 8th, Saturdays. I'll be getting you guys more information. We're going to be doing 7 weeks. Come be with us. Spend a little money. Come clap and cheer on those performers. Come eat some of that food. Try different things. Be in our space. We are welcoming, we are hungry for connection, but we are also mighty and strong. So be mighty and strong with us, and again, thank you for investing in us and seeing us.
Thank you so much, Angie, for your energy and enthusiasm and what you've been able to accomplish. And we're proud to be community partners with the South District Neighborhood Association for the first time this year. This coming week, a couple of ways we're living out our values are by serving the free lunch in Iowa City on Friday and by offering a chance to gather for a plant-based potluck here at UUS on Saturday at 5:30 p.m. with our veg community. If you'd like to know more about these and other programs, we hope you'll sign up for our weekly email and take a look at it, or ask about particular programs at the welcome table or from me or others after the service. There are also brochures about the South District Neighborhood Association that are out on the card table in the fellowship hall if you would like to learn more.
Good morning. Good morning. There we go. Microphone. My name is Nick Kaplan. I'm the grateful director of Lifespan Religious Education here at UUS. I'm a shorter, non-binary person, and my curly gray and brown hair is tied back in a French braid. Here on my right, I am so grateful that we have this space, this carpeted area with cushions, fidgets, just like I'm using here. We have a space for bodies that can't sit still in a chair. We have a table that's often utilized, not today, but we have a table with art supplies, paper, where people could be writing and taking notes or doodling as they listen. A lot of us, seated in chairs, standing in the back, around this space, a lot of us grew up in communities where to listen, we had to sit still and look at you when you were speaking. Am I right? I see some nods. Some of us grew up in those communities where we had to sit still and be silent. But do you know what? I had an 8-year-old who is regularly on this space, regularly not facing forward, regularly drawing picture after picture. I had an 8-year-old come to me and know the tribes on whose land we stand today. I have had youth who have been at this table drawing or been on the rug drawing who have come to me and said, "Why couldn't you share that book during the Time for All Ages?" Our children and our youth are listening, and it's amazing, this ministry that they provide to us. How many of you knit? Ooh, we've got a good number of knitters, probably, maybe 10 hands at least went up. I couldn't count that quickly, but we've got people who knit. What about people who do Sudoku? Another dozen or so hands pop up. Does anyone ever do those things while you're listening to the radio or watching a television program? Lots of nods, some more hands up. Does doing a Sudoku prevent you from being able to hear what's happening in the space around you? No. Sometimes we might get distracted, but that's us. We're people. We get distracted, right? The ability to draw, the ability to have a fidget in our hands, like this poppet bracelet that I'm holding, the ability to sit here and do something can sometimes help us absorb better. I remember when I was in a history class in college, I took a lucette with me. Anyone familiar with a lucette? I was part of this historical medieval Renaissance recreation thing, and we used this kind of U-shaped device to make cording. Sometimes it would lace boots, sometimes it would lace a corset, but it was a way to make cording. And I would take that to my history class sometimes, and I guarantee you that when I was taking that with me to history, I listened to those dates and names so much better. we have this thing that some religious professionals call soul work. The ability to do can help us engage with service around us. And I am so grateful that we have children and youth today and on other Sundays who are ministering to us adults who maybe forget that that's okay. I am so grateful to have them in this space teaching us new ways to engage. And I hope that as we move forward, maybe you'll bring your knitting with you. Maybe you'll try out sitting and coloring one Sunday and see how that helps you engage with service in a new way. Thank you. I invite Alex to help me invite children, youth, anybody who would like to join us for religious education.
There are eggs sitting on that front chair right there, if anybody wants an egg, you know.
If anyone would like to come to RE with me,
Here we go. Be open for something wonderful to happen. Be open to the possibilities. Be open for something wonderful to happen. Be open to the possibilities. Aye, 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 aye. Let's sing it one more time. Be open for something wonderful to happen. Be open to the possibilities. Be open for something wonderful to happen. Be open to the possibilities. Aye, 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 aye.
As we enter into our time of meditation, contemplation, and prayer, we acknowledge the joys and sorrows of our congregation. We do this by dropping stones into a bowl of water, symbolically immersing our personal joys and sorrows into the flow of all of life's joys and sorrows. The water surrounds and holds the stone, just as we are surrounded and held by the love and support of this congregation. If you're participating in our service elsewhere, you may wish to meditatively hold a stone, wash your hands, or meditate on an object near you. So now if you're in the sanctuary and you would like to participate, please come forward. As the music plays, take a stone from the basket and place your stone in the water as we sing.
May I be filled with loving kindness. May I be well. May I be filled with loving kindness. May I be well. May I be peaceful and at ease. May
May you be filled with loving kindness. May you be well. May you be filled with loving kindness. May you be well. May you be peaceful and at ease. May you be whole. May we be filled with loving kindness. May we be well. May we be filled with loving kindness. May we be well. May we be peaceful and at ease. May we be whole.
Spirit of life, help us to be present with all that is our life, both our deepest sorrows and our greatest joys, so that we can truly live, engaging fully in our own life and in our community. Spirit of community, help us know how linked we are, how each one of our cares touches us all. Help us to ask for support when we are in need and offer our support to others when we are able, so that we may rest in the solace of one another's love. Blessed be.
Good morning. My name is Michael Honey Arcement. I'm present as a white male. I have black hair with some red highlights in it. I'm wearing a black and white mask that I'm now removing, and a shirt imprinted with a circuit board. We, the member congregations of the Unitarian Universalist Association, seek to covenant, to affirm and promote journeying towards spiritual wholeness by working to build a diverse, multicultural, beloved community by our actions that accountably dismantle racism and other oppressions in ourselves and our institutions. We as a congregation have voted to affirm and adopt the eighth principle. I want to take a moment to run a highlighter over some words. Diverse, multicultural, other oppressions. I want to reflect that those words speak more than just add more people of color and call it good. I speak these words and I hear a call to welcome all people, be they ace, trans, polyamorous, non-gendered, neurodivergent, physically disabled, and yes, rich white men. Opening our doors, widening our circle is an additive action. Let us keep what we have here already and add more people to the gumbo. Throughout January, you will hear stories about the different communities that call UUS home. Stories about communities that we want to add without jeopardizing our values and our history. I'm here today to focus on accessibility. As a member of a few communities, neurodivergent, religious, physically impaired, Latino, UUS volunteer, geriatric millennial. I could talk about them all and tell stories and about interactions and representing each of those communities just over the last few years that I've been a member here. But I have a time limit, so I'll stick to just accessibility. I believe it is this community's job to figure out how we can stretch into those so-called margins to broaden our understanding and ability to be inclusive. There is not a single demographic that describes the membership of UUS. I just named 6 non-exclusive groups that I identify with that are welcome in this building. I would describe this community as a multitude of groups in federation with each other. Inclusivity is not how do we make you part of what we are. Inclusivity is the options of how do we become more of what you are, or how do we be honorable witness to what you are. I come from a technical background. I was a programmer and now have a role in facilitating communication between departments as one aspect of a more holistic administrator position. A few years ago, presenters at Microsoft conferences started to introduce themselves descriptively, just as I did and others did to start their speech. This is part of Microsoft's efforts to be more inclusive and more respectful to those with vision issues and those only listening to that video stream. Maybe they're knitting or they're in the car. As a geriatric millennial working in technology, I have firsthand experience seeing the welcoming power of new technologies and how they allow interactions never before possible. I have also seen new technologies exclude, shun, and cripple people in ways never before possible. When we left Iowa City, we had no concept of ever streaming our service online. Didn't know that we would have TVs in the sanctuary showing hymn lyrics, storybook pictures, videos. In the future, we might be able to take this recording and have a UUS podcast that you can listen to on your commute to work on Monday. Disability is a rather interesting concept. Would somebody listening to the service have a disability? In the most basic terms, disability is lack of an ability. So in this case, a very technical sense, listening to the program, having no video, is indistinguishable to being blind. The listener has their ability to see body movements, pictures, visual cues taken away from them. When we have more formalized definitions, the World Health Organization defines disability as having 3 dimensions: impairment, a person's body structure or function or mental functioning, loss of limb, loss of vision, memory loss. Activity limitation, difficulty seeing, hearing, walking, problem solving. Participation restrictions, having activities in normal daily life, working, engaging in social, recreational activities, obtaining health care, preventative services. Nothing in those definitions says permanent. Nothing in those definitions says obvious. There is no obligation for somebody with an impairment, activity limitation, or participation restriction to announce that to the public. I was a professional web developer for many years with a forte in web accessibility. The sites I built had a moral, sometimes legal, duty to be accessible and to be welcoming to any visitor. When we left 10 South Gilbert, that was a major shock to this community. It was, in my opinion, and I hope still the consensus today, a necessary change that reaffirmed commitments to people with motor and sensory impairments. That move, that change to this building continues to pay dividends in widening the circle of who is welcome here. Changes that continue to improve the experience for every member. There is no body that is unwelcome in these doors. There is no spirit that is banned. This congregation is fulfilling a duty to members past, present, and future to speak into existence a reality unrestricted by physical or mental divergence from the majority.
So our reading is excerpted from the theology statement of a report that came out in May 2018 from the UUMA Ableism Task Force. Our bodies inherently have value. Our bodies are where we live, and they're the container for all of our experiences, including our religious and or spiritual experiences. If we tolerate or perpetuate the devaluing of other people's bodies, we're also willing to devalue their spiritual experiences. Ableism is the centering of able bodies and experiences over disabled bodies and experiences, while simultaneously devaluing and erasing those disabled bodies. If, in the words of Eli Clare, ableism is the grease that makes the machine of all other oppressions move forward, then the devaluing of disabled bodies is connected to all of the other bodies that don't have to matter. If we believe that all people have inherent worth and dignity, then we believe all bodies have inherent worth and dignity. If we believe that all bodies have inherent worth and dignity, we also believe that every person also has agency over their body, that people are more than the work that they do, that caring for one another is a moral responsibility, even bodies that do not conform to a capitalist standard of working for pay. All bodies are worthy of our care and concern because they are human people with human bodies. If we believe that one of the sources of our living tradition is direct experience of that transcending mystery and wonder affirmed in all cultures, which moves us to a renewal of the spirit and an openness to the forces which create and uphold life, then we must notice that to which we are moved. If disabled bodies are part of life, then they are good. Part of the urging of transcendence, then, is to resist all forms of devaluing of disabled bodies, including unexamined rhetoric that devalues disabled bodies and places high value on normatively able bodies by using disabled bodies as a point of reference for negative metaphor. We already know that words shape our reality. We know that it's a metaphor, quote unquote, and there's more. It's also not a metaphor. We frame much of our engagement around things that do not include everyone. We don't just put our stories onto other people's bodies, we also put our metaphors onto them, one-directional, in which the able-bodied metaphor is superior. It's not true. Every body is the location of holiness, not just able bodies. When we sing songs that say that the able-bodied way is the only way, we're missing an entire possibility. More is possible. Instead of focusing on the loss of a metaphor, we can consider what else is possible. As Unitarian Universalists, we assert that revelation is not sealed. There is a specific, ongoing revelation that is the disabled body as a text and post-textually as an experience. The disabled body, then, is a prophetic body. It calls beloved community to account for a past in which the good news that has only been for those with the right abilities, the acceptable bodies. And still, the disabled body cannot be hidden nor silenced, though it may not audibly speak. The disabled body bridges time to a future in which belonging and contribution are a natural function of inclusion as a core value and spiritual practice of beloved community. The prophecy of the disabled body is this indictment and this promise. To what does it call us?
Welcoming, inclusivity, diversity. As we continue to be welcoming, we need to audit our surroundings to confidently and joyously say, this is a safe place. Do I look disabled to you? Can you see my mental illness? Can you accept me speaking here about this topic if I don't use a walking stick to move around? Look around with that broader definition of accessibility in mind. Think about how quickly, how quietly anybody can shift between able and participating to excluded. How do we become more of what you are when it is reasonable and sensible to personally experience other? Take that step, even for just a moment, so that you could better understand. Sometimes in my work, I would put a blindfold on so that I could better work through screen reader navigation issues. If I was checking for video captions to make sure that they lined up, I'd just turn the sound off on the speakers. I temporarily disabled myself to test that experience that I was creating for other people. How do we be honorable witness to what you are when it is not reasonable or sensible to have that personal experience? Take the moment to witness someone else in their experience. Take in their emotions. Listen to their stories. I don't need to cripple my legs more to appreciate the usefulness of a ramp. I don't need to travel to Guatemala to appreciate not understanding the language. I can watch other people try to come up here at this podium. I can watch foreign tourists here in Iowa trying to work out how do you buy a pop. Hence the options for being welcoming. Because of my work, I learned to take a more generic take on inclusivity and universal design. Widening the circle of community mandates making changes to make participation possible, but those changes should provide benefit to those already comfortable in the circle. The risk is being welcoming to the new and excluding the existing in the revolving door of membership. Allowing somebody with neurodivergence to speak does not replace, undermine, or exclude participation in or enjoyment of this talk by a neurotypical audience. This congregation has a special place, a special potential for helping to create systems of resilience that can support us and our neighbors in times of change and challenge. Our congregation can be a place that helps people adapt, create a better world, and be a beacon for all those who are struggling. I have some personal stories to share that, on the face, are small things. But small things add up like pennies on a chessboard. I'm a PC gamer. Part of that reason is because I found gaming consoles from Nintendo, Sega, Sony, Microsoft to be exclusive. I was excluded because of these hands. I physically could not manipulate the controller. There were no other options. I and others more severely disabled were excluded from that activity. In May 2018, Microsoft's gaming division released an accessible controller kit. They didn't redesign the controller for everyone. They made a platform for people that need accommodation to make a controller that allowed them to play with other people. Over this Christmas holiday, I was around people playing the Sony PlayStation, and I couldn't join in, couldn't participate, no matter how much I'd wanted to. The people in the room were welcoming, offered the controller, but alas, it just wasn't going to happen. I look around this building, and I see a building designed to be adaptable. This is a place that welcomes people that other communities, other churches actively exclude. We want people to be their true, authentic self in this building without shame, ridicule, or blocking of entry. And we have taken steps to increase the number of people who can participate and continue to remove those barriers as they are identified. There is a possibility that people from all over the world are being introduced to Unitarian Universalist community, culture, and principles right now. All because of that camera. That camera is here because of COVID. It has changed how we do services, changed who is able to attend, changed how we see ourselves. Watching this service on YouTube is a different experience from being here in person. But having that stream allowed us to remain a community. It allowed us to remain connected at the height of the pandemic when we couldn't enter this building for months. Members and friends who are not in this building right now remain a part of this community. There are many reasons why people stop attending services, but if any part of them still holds desire to be here, I am looking at many possibilities to overcome any obstacle and any perceived exclusion. I love the middle ground we have now, watching online. Today, members continue to reap the benefits that our AV team provides week after week. Watching from Oak Knoll, from home with kids, out of state on vacation. Maybe they're stuck at their apartment because they don't drive, the car didn't start, or they just didn't want to get out in that ice today. I could go on for hours listing the reasons why we continue to have views on YouTube week after week. Back in the before times, the choice was you attend in person or you don't attend at all. And I experienced events that left me uncomfortable attending services here. And so I left UUS forever. Apparently forever lasted until a seat on the board opened up and leadership development was blowing up my phone. So it was a convincing offer, and I came back to a seat on the table to promote accessibility, to go in and push for changes and push for things that had driven me away. There are just these little features that can build up to improve participation, include people in the community otherwise excluded. We must stay cognizant of that when we do interactive activities. Those at home, those watching through that camera, they must feel included in what we're doing here. They may be actively watching, they may be doing the dishes. Dead air for several minutes is a bad experience if they're expecting there to be sound. And that is my fear week after week. Will the microphones work? Will the video play? Is the audience mic'd for crowd noise? Is the audience mic'd, if we ask for questions and pass the wireless around? Another unexpected boom from COVID has been the welcoming of neurodivergent people back into society. I see the questions. Hear me out. Social distancing in our traffic light seating has allowed people who want to experience this service in person, but not fully committed to interacting with other people, that safe space where they can sit in a red section or yellow section to enjoy without anxiety. Wearing masks socially is wonderful for some neurodivergent people, sensitive to smell, inattentive to facial expressions. People in that community have wanted to wear masks for years, and now it is socially acceptable. I have no plans to stop masking at Hy-Vee, Hampshire, or here. I'm 4 COVID shots in, I have my flu shot. But what happened to Reverend Diana and so many others with long COVID is scary. And it's vindicating for those with OCD, social anxiety, or illness aversion who balance being in public and their own personal safety. Disability does not have to be obvious. Disability does not have to be lasting. We found out in part 1 that participation restriction is a disability. I told a story about a physical impairment limiting my participation in an activity. Let me share a mental one. Over New Year's weekend, Rochelle and I took family to Chicago. We made a weekend of it and went to the zoo to see the lights and many other experiences. When they went inside the reptile exhibit, I felt stiff. I felt scared. I felt unsafe. I hope that's not a forever experience. Very likely is not, but in that moment, in that place, at that time, I felt unwelcome. I just parked myself at the door and just waited. How do we be honorable witness to what you are? The problems with 10 South Gilbert were that it was dark, noisy, cramped, had stairs, and poor ventilation. This building requires sunglasses in the summer. It's so quiet, we put little booties on the chairs to dampen their noise. It's absolutely spacious. Has only the 1 step, and has 2 ventilation systems that continuously filter and clean this air. The sanctuary and RE rooms are on 1 system. Fellowship Hall and the offices are on a completely different HVAC system. I feel safer here. I do not feel judged for wearing a mask. I don't feel anxious about needing an N95 or not wanting to enter the building at all. We have done so much, and we continue to push into those so-called margins. So can we just sit back, pat ourselves on the back, and say, good job, we're done? No. I've got a closing thought for you. At a recent conference, one of the speakers asked us something profound. Do not believe anything that you have not tried to disprove. Do not believe anything that you have not tried to disprove. We say we are welcome to people of all abilities. Look for reasons why someone might have problems with this service. Look for reasons why somebody might not attend. Only after trying and eventually failing to find that evidence can we rest in the knowledge that all are welcome here. So may it be, blessed be, and peace be with you.
How we give, what we do with our lives, our time, and our resources, it was a reflection of our values. In response to the abundance we are blessed with, every week this congregation donates generously to organizations in the community whose work aligns with our values and principles. Our community partner agency this month is the South District Neighborhood Association, whom we were lucky enough to hear from earlier in the service. In the sanctuary, the ushers will collect the offering. All cash contributions go directly to our community partner agency. In addition to assisting our community partner, you may contribute towards your pledge to our society or contribute to the congregation, provide additional support for our operating expenses by check using the memo line to designate the purpose, or you can give electronically by following the link shown on the screen or through RUM. The offering is a sign of commitment to this free congregation, which is completely supported by the generosity of all who join with us. As we give and receive the offering, may we be transformed by our giving, and may the world be transformed by our gifts.
There are numerous strings in your lute. Let me add my own among them. There are numerous strings in your lute. Let me add my own among them. Then when you smite your chord, my heart will break its silence, and my heart will be one with your song. There are numerous strings in your lute. Let me add my own among them. Amidst your numberless stars, let me place my own little lamp. In the dance of your festival of lights, my heart will throb, and my life will be one with your smile. There are numerous strings in your lute. Let me add my own among them. There are numerous the strings in your lute. Let me add my own among them.
May what has been shared today help us more fully affirm our interconnection and live into love and justice. Immediately after the service, we'll have time for all to join in conversation and community. If you're online, a link to our Zoom coffee hour rooms is being dropped into the chat. If you're in person, we gather in the fellowship hall for conversation. Our discussion question, which you may want to chat about during coffee hour, is: think about times you've had limited mobility, ice on the parking lot, imagine that, carrying a child, broken limb, no car, flat tire, any number of things. How did you adapt? How did or could UUS have helped you? And now to close our service today, we'll sing hymn number 131, Love Will Guide Us.
Yeah, I think this might be a familiar one for many of you. So I'll invite you to rise in body and spirit as we sing together hymn 131, Love Will Guide Us. It's also on the screens.
Love will guide us, peace has tried us, hope inside us will lead the way on the road from greed to grieving. Love will guide us through the hard night. If you cannot sing like angels, if you cannot speak before thousands, you can give from deep within you. You can change the world with your love. Love will guide us, peace has tried us, hope inside us will lead the way on the road from greed to giving. Love will guide us through the hard night.
Please join me in the words for extinguishing the chalice. We extinguish this flame, but not the light of truth, the warmth of community, or the fire of commitment. All those we carry in our hearts and in our minds until we are together again. We leave this gathered community, but we don't leave our connection, our concerns, our care for each other, our service to each other, to the world, and to our faith continues. Until we are together again, friends, be strong, be well, be true, be loving.
Amen. Let it be so. 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 Amen. Let it be so.